Hello, this is Team SMS, formerly known as Team Uno. Um, and this is the video for our card game. So, the goal of our project was to create a card guessing game. And a strategic aspect to our game is that the player only gets 7 chances to choose a card between the numbers 1 and 32. The game has 3 hints, and using a hint takes away your turns. So if you use hint 1, you lose 1 turn. If you use hint 2, you lose 2 turns. And then if you use hint 3, you lose 4 turns. And then to create the project, we began by writing some basic functions on MATLAB. And then once we had kind of like the basics of the game down, we transferred the code that we had to App Designer, and that's when we started creating like the GUI display and all the callback functions that would implement the code that we had written on MATLAB into the App Designer. And then lastly, we improved aspects of the game and then added animations and sound and made sure that all of it was working. So Sam and I worked on the basic code and the GUI structure together, and then I added one of the sound effects, the very first one, not the first one, the one that plays when when you guess a number.
Hello, my name's Seb, and I wrote some code for this game. One of the things was this function to animate the cards, like one moves up and one moves down. It's basically just a for loop. Then there's a pause, so then it moves the card a little bit.
As Sebastian said earlier, he wrote the main function for the code. So what I did was, in terms of the strategic aspects of the game, I decided to use 3 hints. So the first hint we have here is we use a mod function to determine whether the number is even or odd. So like if the user inputs an app.cards to guess, if that mod of that function or whatever input you have is even or equals to 0, then we said it's even, else it'll display your card is odd, and then everything should be displayed over here in the game information. In terms of the hint button 2, it just basically tells you whatever number you put inside here. I mean, like depending on which number that is. If it's too high from the number that you're trying to guess, keep in mind like when the game starts, a random number is generated. It will say whether or not your guess was too low and your guess was too high. In terms of hint 3, the hint 3 gives the most. It's like what's it called again? It gives you the most helpful hint in a way where, since the numbers range from 1 to 32, depending on, we have like little intervals where if the number that you're trying to guess lies within that interval, it will tell you that it lies in that interval. And the reason why it is the most helpful is because once you're given that interval, it will be very easy to figure out what number it is, because there are only a certain amount of like values you can pick. Compared to like 1 to 32, it might be from 1 to 10, so it's more helpful. And like I mentioned earlier, in terms of strategic aspect, yes, these hints do provide strategy, but when the game starts, we're given only 7 turns. Since we're only given 7 turns, depending on which hint you use, hint 1, hint 2, hint 3, hint 1 is like the lowest hint. So it will take only like 1 life or like 1 turn. And hint 2 will take away more turns, and hint 3 will take away the most turns. So in a way, that's strategic because yes, it could be really easy to find a card, but again, you might miss that chance. There's always a chance that you won't figure out the card. So in a way, you're sacrificing your lives versus how much you know about the game. So yeah.
Should have prepared for
this. It's fine.
Alright, one of the challenging parts of creating this code was that before we started the project, we didn't have a lot of experience using App Designer. So then when it came time to we wrote the code in MATLAB first, but then we transferred it to App Designer. And when it came time for the functions to like work in App Designer, we struggled because some of the variable names would not work unless you had app dot in front of them. So that was one of the parts that kind of confused us at first, and we had to figure it out. But once we got that down, we were able to pretty much implement the code properly.
Alright, so here's the game. Makes the startup sound. The first thing it does is ask for how many players. I don't know if I have to run through both, but I'll start with 2. Starts as player 1's turn. Then here's where you input your guess. If you input a 0, it'll tell you that the guess is out of range, and it'll make a fail sound effect. But then you still use a turn even if the guess is out of range. If the guess is in range, just like nothing happens, just says wrong if it's wrong, or correct if it's correct. Then here's the hints. The hints don't actually like change the turn. Like this one will say it's odd. Then this one will say your guess was too low, but the guess was 0, so of course it's too low. We can use it again. Oh, well, it turns out the card was 5.
Hi, this is just a quick shot of all 3 of us together. We are currently in Guide Hall, or Gate, or in the back. Okay, so in terms of this game running, when you click the run button, you have the Windows start up. So the maximum number of players you can have is 1 or 2. So for our example, we'll just use 2. Oh yeah. And if you try to put 3, it gives you, it won't let you play. But for now, so back to the thing, earlier I demonstrated that if you enter an invalid number of players, it won't let you play. So for this example, we will push 2. So when you click 2, both cards will move. Was it, if you click 1, only 1 card moves, right? Was that what you?
The other card disappears.
The other card disappears. Okay. So this answer button is not, okay, normally we were going to put the answer button in the game, but for testing purposes, we just wanted to see what the answer was. So click answer in the MATLAB actual thing. It tells you right here which numbers that you have to guess. And depending on how many players, if it's 1 player, there will be 1 card generated from 1 to 32. 2 players, there will be 2 cards that are generated from 1 to 32. So in our case, we said 14 to 30. So what we're going to do is, let's just put a random number, incorrect, and then it will let each player know how many turns they have remaining. So player 1 just went, so player 1 should have 6 turns. Now it's player 2's turn. Let's add 16. And then for the purposes of this video, I'll just keep getting incorrect answers. Oh. And also, if you input 0, which is out of the range of 132, it will make a very funny sound. Which can get annoying. So just keep inputting 2. And when both players run out of turns, there will be a dialogue that pops up. So player 1 just lost. So player 1's card just went away. That's part of the animation. And since player 2 has 1 more turn, if we use that 1 turn, both players lose, and the message dialogue pops up like this. And there's a little sound effect that plays. Alright, we are pushing it to 9 minutes and 30 seconds, so that concludes the app.